The president is lying about the Mueller report as his son, Don Jr., is facing a congressional subpoena. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Last night, President Trump held a rally in Florida where he once again lied about special counsel Robert Mueller's report, which established that Trump's campaign had links to Russia and benefited from Russian interference in the election, and that Trump repeatedly tried to obstruct the investigation. Remember? I mean, every time we talk about this story, I have to restate those basic facts, facts that would, in a sane world, dominate the political landscape for months, if not years, because everyone keeps forgetting them, and I'm not blaming anyone, it's just too much keeps happening. While we were talking about the Mueller report, we found out that Trump lost over $1 billion in 10 years. This is distracting. It's like going to book club where everyone read a different book, they all talk at the same time, and instead of rosé, people do uncut cocaine while Skrillex plays. You can't focus. But the report was incredibly damning for Trump. For one thing, the report was 448 pages. If you went to a parent-teacher conference and the teacher said, "Let me get your son's file," and it was 448 pages, that kid's going to military school. But Trump's been lying about it, and he did so again last night when he claimed that the report exonerated him. And he also claimed that if he had investigated anyone in the crowd for 2 years, he could have found crimes in their backgrounds, too.
Did you see what just happened, by the way? No collusion, no obstruction, no anything. 2 years on a witch hunt. I could have gotten anybody in this audience. I could have found something on you.
Wow, that is a interesting new political strategy, accusing your own supporters of being criminals. You should start calling people out like an insult comic. Check out that lady. You telling me you've never passed a bad check? Look at her. Big old fraud face. For obvious reasons, Trump wants to move on from the Mueller report as quickly as possible, which is why he's waging a war on Congress to stop them from reading the full unredacted report and all the underlying evidence. Trump is also refusing to hand over documents and telling former aides to defy subpoenas. He is fundamentally lawless, which is not surprising because the guy has spent his whole life getting away with stuff. If you left work every Friday early to go golfing with Kid Rock, your boss would be like, "You're fired." And also, Kid Rock plays golf? Seems like a bowling guy. In fact, at his rally last night, Trump referenced a tweet he had retweeted suggesting that he should get 2 more years added onto his presidency and, in the process of attacking the media, double down on the joke.
They are a bunch of fakers, there's no question about it. But you know, in 6 years, they're all going to be out of business, folks. They're all going to be out of business. Now, if we want to drive them crazy, I'll say in 10 years, they'll go crazy. See, he is a despot. He is a despot. Well, 10 or 14, let's see, whatever we like, right? Watch, it'll be headlines tomorrow. Donald Trump wants to break constitutionality.
You don't get credit for predicting headlines that you created. You can't rob a liquor store and then say, "Watch the media tomorrow," will say, "Oh, he robbed a liquor store. He had a gun, he was waving it around." The Mueller report, it just came out 3 weeks ago, and Trump already wants to cover it up and move on. In fact, Trump is now citing executive privilege to block the release of the full unredacted report and all the underlying evidence, and yet he also keeps claiming that the report he doesn't want anyone to see exonerates him. And he did it again during an event at the White House this afternoon.
The report comes back, it's perfect, it's beautiful. There's no collusion. Nobody even talks about collusion. Do you know, I haven't heard the word Russia in a long time. There's no more talk about Russia. What happened to Russia? The Russian witch hunt, they don't talk because it was so on collusion, which, by the way, is by far, that's the big deal, because it was all about Russia. So I haven't heard the word Russia. They don't use the word Russia anymore.
Just because you don't hear the word Russia doesn't mean no one else uses it. For one thing, all you watch is Fox News, where I'm pretty sure they pretend Russia doesn't even exist. When they show a map of Europe and Asia, they replace Russia with a graphic that says, "What about Hillary's emails?" And yet, no matter how much Trump would like to move on, the investigation is very much not over. In fact, we just found out yesterday that the Senate Intelligence Committee, whose chairman is a Republican, had subpoenaed Donald Trump Jr. to come back in and testify again about some of the details in the Mueller report. And speaking to reporters today, Trump made clear he was not happy about that.
I was very surprised to see my son. My son's a very good person, works very hard. The last thing he needs is Washington, D.C. He could rather not ever be involved. Remember, he said to me a long time ago when I was thinking about running, Dad, if I could help, let me know. It's not my expertise.
Here's my question. What is his expertise? Because it's definitely not business, politics, speaking, spelling, writing, or standing. I mean, look at this. Why does this whole family stand like a bunch of weirdos? Don Jr. looks like he's recording you with a secret mic strapped to his chest. Can you say that a little louder? And closer to my nipples? So the meeting did take place? So Trump and his son are both mad about the subpoena. In fact, CNN reported that one option Trump Jr. is considering in response to the subpoena is to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights, and another is just not to appear at all. And if that happens, one Democratic senator said they should enforce the subpoena by any means necessary.
If Donald Trump Jr. defies this subpoena, he ought to be jailed.
Wow, I do not think Don Jr. would fare well in jail. I mean, for one thing, can you imagine his hair with only prison shampoo? So we just got the Mueller report 3 weeks ago, and we're still waiting for the full unredacted version as well as all the underlying evidence. Now is when the congressional response should start, not stop. And yet, Republicans want to declare the whole thing over and move on as quickly as possible.
Robert Mueller's witch hunt found nothing, and they were trying. Mueller is done. It's over.
It's not even worth talking about anymore. I'm done with it.
I'm not going to do any more. Enough already. It's over.
The special counsel's finding is clear. Case closed. Case closed.
It's really funny when the least interesting man in the world takes that long a dramatic pause. He sounds like a ghost drifting away in a graveyard. Hey. Close. McConnell also said in his speech that he wanted to finally end discussion of the Russia investigation once and for all.
That's what I want to discuss this morning. Russia's interference in American elections, the work of the special counsel and the Attorney General, and how we can finally end this Groundhog Day spectacle.
This isn't Groundhog Day. Every week we find out something new. If anything, we have too much information. Following the latest developments in the Russia investigation is like trying to piece together the plot lines of the last 20 Marvel movies. Okay, so that guy told that guy to fire that guy, but he said no and told that other guy he was going to quit so he wouldn't go to jail, like that other guy who shared polling data with that guy while that one lawyer was lying about that other lawyer's deal with that other guy. And despite all this, you're telling me Paul Rudd hasn't aged a day this whole time? The evidence is plain as day. It's right in front of us. In fact, this week, hundreds of former prosecutors signed a letter saying Trump would have been indicted if he weren't the president. The letter is a nuanced, in-depth legal argument, but it can basically be summed up in 2 words.
Case closed. Case closed.
This has been a closer look.